And we have some bad news, I'm afraid, this morning as well. You're going to start paying a lot more for your favorite takeaway. Fast food is going to get a lot more expensive. Famous Brands is warning that prices at quick service restaurants are set to increase, and results of fuel prices having gone up and inflation, the big drivers. So let's have this very sad conversation, but try and add some hope, shall we? KFC AdHope Purpose Manager Andra now joining us this morning. Andra, I appreciate the time for you joining us this morning. I want to talk about AdHope in just a moment as well, though. But when you start talking about a brand as big as KFC, it's become a lifestyle for a lot of people. It's a Friday treat, it's a Saturday treat. Mom gets the night off as well. This is really going to start hurting KFC's bottom line.
So I don't think it's a fast food specific challenge. We know that the business environment in South Africa remains challenging, and that organizations are going to have to be incredibly innovative in the way that they operate to make sure that we remain compelling and accessible to South Africans. What I can tell you from a KFC perspective is that we are partnering across our supply chain to make sure that we remain as accessible as possible to South Africans. So it's not, I don't think it's a fast food specific challenge. It's a general South African challenge that consumers are feeling the pinch.
Yeah, they really are, and I suppose this is where we have to talk about AdHope, because anyone who's ever been to KFC will know that you can add a bit more for various charities that KFC is involved in, for example. But I would have imagined that one of the first indicators, and tell me if I'm wrong, Andra, is people still being able to buy the food, whatever meal that was, but they were not so willing anymore or able to add a bit extra for AdHope. Did you start seeing a pattern during the lower lockdown levels of COVID? People just didn't have the extra money to help out.
Well, on the contrary, what we actually saw is that in specifically low-income areas, we were seeing an increase. We have consistently seen that areas where you would assume that there is less disposable income, people are giving more freely, and I think it's because they're more faced with the realities of it. What we know from a KFC perspective is that the impact of the food inflation will hurt those that are most vulnerable in South Africa, those that are already struggling to put that next meal on the table. And now, I'm just significantly encouraged by the fact that South Africans are still giving. We are seeing that last year alone, we collected more than 54 million rand in 2 rands, which means that South Africans are willing to part with a fairly small investment in contributing towards solving a very real societal challenge.
And I need to ask the question, because I wasn't aware that lower income areas were adding even more than they generally were as well. Is there going to be a point where that 2 rand, Andra, is going to have to become 3 rand? Because the 2 rand that KFC's AdHope has been collecting all these years, that 2 rand isn't as valuable as it was a couple of years ago. Could 2 rand become 3 rand?
That is not something that we are even considering at this stage, because we believe in the power of 2 rand. Now, if you go to the store and you pull out that 2 rand from your pocket, I'm not sure what you're going to be able to buy, because to your point, the 2 rand's value has reduced significantly since we started this 13 years ago. But what we believe is that small change can make big change, and adding that 2 rand becomes a very powerful tool where a little bit really goes a long way, and collectively adding that 2 rand then adds up to a lot. So for us, we believe the 2 rand is an accessible amount. It gets added to KFC's donation, and then what it also does, it becomes a very real and practical solution to what might seem like a very insurmountable and overwhelming societal challenge.
And just as I say goodbye to you as well, it's nice to hear it's going to stay at 2 rand, because the more 2 rand you can get, as you say, it makes quite a difference in the end. Just remind us, if you could, for those who maybe don't leave a 2 rand, maybe because they can't, maybe they don't actually know what it is, what exactly does AdHope do with all those 2 rands?
So when we started this in 2009, we realized that hunger was a very real societal challenge for the children of our country. And we know that a child that doesn't have access to that meal fundamentally can't make the most of the opportunities. They can't learn, they can't grow, they can't thrive. So we decided we're going to donate a fixed percentage of our income to AdHope. But we realized that hunger wasn't a challenge that we could solve on our own. And that's when we started giving our customers the opportunity to add to Rand when you buy the world's best fried chicken. Now, fundamentally, we have now been able to really show the power of collective change in the last 13 years, where we've now served more than 250 million meals. We've raised more than 800 million Rand, but we know more needs to be done. So we've got our sights set on serving 500 million meals by 2030. And we want to ask South Africa to continue partnering with us and making sure that the kids of our country, our future, have the nutrition they need today to thrive tomorrow.